The content in this magazine could contain references of topics and difficult subject matter that may be triggering. Please honor yourself, inner knowing, and proceed with whatever help or guidance you feel is intuitively aligned. Welcome to Sovereign Magazine Podcast. I'm Nicole George, CEO and founder of Sovereign. I'm so happy you are here. We are the magazine, podcast, and community guiding 5 million women to their sovereign selves. From heart-led conversations to magical meditations, our inspiring guests will show you how they can help you step into your sovereign self. Are you ready to listen to your inner voice and step into your power? Then keep listening to hear all of the intuitive messages meant for you today. Hello, today I have the privilege of reconnecting with Yolanda Williams, one of our amazing contributors. She is an energetic alchemy teacher, intuitive mentor, and the host of Reiki Radio podcast. She is certified in wellness counseling and trained in multiple Reiki lineages and modalities. She supports global seekers and practitioners all around the world on their path to self-awareness and transformation. Through all of her amazing courses and her podcast, she shares tools for intuitive development and spiritual growth. Welcome back, Yolanda.
Thank you for having me, Nicole.
Oh, I'm so excited to be here with you today. We're talking about I Am Sovereign, which is our theme for a January new moon issue. And in your article, Reclaiming Your Sovereignty Through Observation and Choice, you really explore with us how powerful it can be to distinguish between who we truly are and who we've been conditioned to be. So for those who haven't read your article yet, why don't you share a little bit about it, or maybe what inspired you to write this?
I have to say, it's interesting, even the thought around sovereignty in this time of year, because as I write in the article, it's Capricorn season. And Capricorn always makes me think about that inspiration to be very ambitious and determined and really going after our goals. But I also was reflecting on, but what are the goals that we're going after? And I know for a lot of us, we may have had ambitions to achieve the goals that would make everyone else in our lives happy, like our parents or whomever. And we tend to get to a point where we wake up one day like, I'm not satisfied, I'm not happy, I feel disconnected, even though I've accomplished all of the things. And that happened to me as well. And then there was this big question mark of, then why do I not feel satisfied? Why do I not feel like I'm living the life that I feel called to, what really feels resonant with me? And so the whole idea of sovereignty has been a big one for me in this reclaiming of myself. But the key was I first had to get to know myself. So I really love this topic in that it's the theme of this month as we start the year, especially to remind all of us that oftentimes we're functioning from autopilot and what we think we're supposed to do. But if we stop and pause and just question what feels good to me, what do I daydream about, what gets me excited, what do I like? Who am I? Then start peeling back those layers. I think we start to reveal a lot more that then gives us a set of goals or aspirations that we can be excited about rather than feeling like we have to just check the boxes.
Oh my gosh, you just explained my entire story in a nutshell. I'm a Capricorn, so I'm determined and ambitious. And there was one day when I was 40, I woke up and said, none of these are my goals. They were goals given to me, right? And I had everything. I ticked every box every person on this planet probably thinks about. I had the cars, I had the job, I had the husband, I had the dogs, I had the kids, I had the master's degree, I had it all, right? And I was so unhappy. And then I really started to ask myself, like, why am I unhappy? I had money. Nothing was making me happy. And that's because I didn't know who I was. I did at my core, but like you said, I had to peel back all of those layers to get to the core of who I was, which meant a lot of things had to peel away including relationships. And so I guess what I wanted to ask you was, when we're in that time of peeling back those expectations and projections that we've carried for so long, how do we begin to start to liberate our own truth and finally claim our sovereignty?
One of the things is just to acknowledge first, without judging ourselves about it. It can be hard because it sounds nice to say, wow, I'm going to be free and I'm going to go after what's for me. But a lot of how we've been living up until a point becomes habitual. And then some of those things we think we're supposed to do give us a sense of security. So even though something may be really calling towards our heart, it can also take a lot of courage and feel like you're taking a risk even to follow and go after what you really want to do, especially because we may not know how to do it. So you're not following any particular blueprint. All of a sudden now you're going to create and establish your own. So I just want to say, for some people, for a lot of us, there will be some fears that come up, and that's okay. Don't think you're not good or ready for this. It's just part of the process of doing things differently. But another thing with the reclaiming is recognizing what you will accept. That's been a big thing that's come up in my meditations lately. For example, I was in a meditation and it came up to accept generosity. And it struck me odd because I grew up with a grandmother who was very generous, and she taught us all to be very generous, help people, do what you can to support anyone that's in need. And so I've always been very comfortable with giving, but I never really sat with that energy of accept generosity. So even little things like that, of recognizing what we may have resistance to, can add to the bigger picture of how we're allowing ourselves to reclaim the fullness of our sovereignty or not. There's a lot that we may want to accomplish, but there's also a lot that's going to take us out of our natural habits and our comfort zones in order for it to be. So when you start peeling back the layers, also have an awareness of what gives me some resistance, what seems to be not typical for me in terms of how I function, and can I lean a little more in to create some balance around giving and receiving? Can I create some more balance around being someone who's like very receptive and gets all these ideas, but then also needs to be more active? You have to really recognize where creating more balance for your success and for movement will help you. And it takes some time. These things are going to come up unexpectedly. So one, have patience, and also just know you're going to most likely be tasked with doing things that are uncomfortable.
Yeah, I love that statement, fullness of your sovereignty, because we don't look at the flip side. I'm exactly like you. I'm a giver, and it's really hard for me to receive, but I'm getting better at saying thank you, and I appreciate it. I heard this piece of advice. It really made sense for me. She said, "How do you feel when you give?" And I said, "Oh, I feel so good in my heart." She said, "But you're taking that away from the person who wants to give to you." And she said, they want to feel that too. And by you saying no, thank you, they don't get to feel that good, warm, fuzzy feeling that you feel when you give, because you're not receiving it. And I was like, oh my gosh, I want them to feel that too. So I'm going to receive better now, because I think that feeling of how good you feel when you give should be contagious, right? And so when I flipped that view and perspective is when I was able to start receiving more.
Yes. And I would say too, for people, keep in mind that, this idea of even being in our sovereignty, it's more of definitely an inner working. There's an energy of really, truly standing like in that confidence and that worthiness, and that I can decide for myself, that has to also be established and worked on, even adding to how you get things done. Because I think a lot of times, and just in the way our society is, we think we just have to do. Like we were saying before, if I have all the to-do list, I check all the boxes, I do all the goals, especially in our realm. I see so many people that say, I'm working hard, I'm doing all the things. Why aren't people coming? Where are my clients? Where's my this? But what's going on internally? What are you really saying? How do you really feel about showing up, about being seen, about connecting with people? All of these things. Just as a reminder, too, there's a big component of this that we really have to be in relationship and understand what's going on for us mentally, emotionally, energetically. And it's not just the doing.
It is time to rise. We are being called to stand behind independent voices, movements, and media that refuse to be owned. Sovereign Magazine has never spoken to an advertiser, a corporation, or a billionaire. We are a grassroots movement made for and funded by you. If you are ready to rise, to shatter ceilings, and to stand in your truth, do it with us. It's free. Hit the like button, subscribe, comment, share. Every click helps us reach more people around the globe, ready to remember who they are. Are you coming with us? Speaking of just the doing, we're going to move into steps to our sovereign self, and we're going to do something a little different. Because you're this amazing global teacher, you're going to help give advice around how, as women, or if we have anybody else listening, how we can distinguish a goal that is rooted in authenticity versus a goal that is fueled by external validation or fear, which is what you were just talking about, right? Ticking the boxes, but your clients aren't coming, right? So how can we stand in our sovereignty with who we truly are authentically and create goals that align with us versus those goals that are fueled by that external validation or fear?
Yeah. One of the things is the goals that come just from the overanalyzing and thinking it's what I'm supposed to do. Not to say to ignore those, but write them down. Write down the list of goals that come from the space of this is what I think I'm supposed to do. And then allow yourself also to have those moments of self-connection, reflection, where you have those random ideas that drop in out of nowhere when you're driving or in the shower, and then you're like, oh my gosh, this idea. Write those down too. But on either side of the fence, no matter where the inspirations come from, really tune into what's my motivation behind it. How does this really feel to me? And the truth is, there will be some things that, again, may feel uncomfortable. You may not want to do it, but how does it support who you're becoming and where you want to go? So you have to consider the motivation and then the truth of how is this really going to support me, and understanding being in our sovereignty and really reclaiming our lives in so many ways. It doesn't make us be able to just be, can't think of another word, but like a brat. It doesn't mean all of a sudden you're just like, no, my way and no other way, and I'm in my sovereignty, I'm in my authority. We're still going to have to compromise, and there still will be things that we have to grow through, and that's okay. But just have a clear understanding of what you're doing that's baseless and that you may feel is necessary, and maybe it's not. But it also goes with those inspirations that feel so true to you, that you love. You also sometimes have to sit with, does this really make sense though? As we are getting to know ourselves and sorting through all of that, when it comes to our goals and our accomplishments, we also have to be very honest and clear around what makes sense. Test some things even prior to 100% committing to this is what it has to look like. Don't be too rigid where you're so attached to certain things that you want to accomplish that you keep pushing a boulder up a hill. Be open and receptive to learning. Be open to other people's ideas. Mastermind. I think that's one of the points of your community that you've built as well. It's so beautiful that you can have discussions that may expand your way of understanding and knowing what you're doing. It's funny, now I'm thinking about it, I think one of the most beautiful things about reclaiming ourselves is also choosing with clarity the community and the support that we call in our lives.
Yeah, I love that so much, which resonates with me because yesterday I was speaking with somebody who wants to be featured in the magazine. And she said, oh, I really want to do this, but I need to know all of your numbers, which the reach numbers, right? And I said, I'm so happy to share those with you. However, they mean nothing to me because if social media disappears, what do we have? We still have our community. That's what's more important to me is our community, us coming together. And of course, I shared all the numbers with her, but I said, really, in the end, does it matter how many views and followers we are getting on YouTube and all of that? No, because we're building our grassroots movement together. It's all of us women coming together to choose this new way of living, being this new earth, this non-patriarchal way of doing things and getting rid of that validation rooted in fear and numbers and all of that. How are you feeling in our community? Right. And then she was even more excited because it just expanded her mind just that much more towards a life that she actually desires versus the fear of the numbers.
It's funny you say this, Nicole, because I think the times that we're in right now, especially with social media, it's created a lot of confusion around what will support our ambition and what makes us appear to be in our sovereignty. Because it's funny, I get emails all the time about that, people inviting me to speak at something, and then they have this whole list of requirements of, do you have this many followers? Do you have this? Do you have this email list? And I'm like, do you want the information or what? And even if I have the numbers, it still can be very off-putting to me because I'm like, that's really not the point of my work. And there's a lot of illusion around that nowadays where it's all very interesting, and it really will help us to be more concerned with what feels more authentic and true to us, and then working and sharing our work from that space.
Not only are we unveiling the world and taking the veil off of this whole social media realm and what is authentic there, but we're unveiling our own selves and peeling back those layers. Thank you so much. So for anybody who wants to connect with Yolanda, she's in our community.sovereign-magazine.com. All of her details are in the show notes, as well as being able to go on her website to take any of her courses. She's an amazing teacher. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you, Nicole.
Thanks for listening. I'll be back tomorrow with another soul-led entrepreneur here to help you step into your sovereign self. Subscribe to our magazine and podcast and join our global community for all the magic. Details to connect with today's guest or join the movement are in the show notes. And if you enjoyed this episode, please leave a review. It helps us reach our goal of guiding 5 million women to self-sovereignty.